animation. Bienvenue. Welcome once again to the Love Entrepreneur Show with Larry Coslet. And today's special guest is Michaela Schupp. This show is devoted to helping people understand, how the Love Entrepreneurs is a fellowship to help raise all ships, or, all tides raise all ships, etc. And also to talk about how the Big Fix, which is the flagship product of Love Entrepreneurs, it should be noted, is free of charge, can help you, get a second view from an outside and a council of elders, as it were, about how your product, service, website, etc. is and how it can be, but also it's the starting point for a whole process that Larry runs, which culminates in both a process, a project, and even a strategy. So let me hand over to Larry. Larry, good morning.
Hi there. Good morning. Good morning, Michaela. So, yes, never was there such a word of that was more true than probably in Michaela's situation. So we had a really great Big Fix. So the idea of the Big Fix and Love Entrepreneurs is it's not just a talking shop, it's an action motivator. So, there's no point coming along and getting all these wonderful suggestions that people do in our report unless you're prepared to take action on it. And what we're all about is taking action. And honestly, this woman is amazing. This woman has created probably one of the leading, I nearly said, Michaela, eclectic chocolates. It's not really true. Basically think of Milka, so non-sugar based chocolate. So real chocolate, brands in Germany that there is known. I mean, she's created this business from scratch. She exports now to 70, 80 different countries, UK, China, Japan, Switzerland, Germany, obviously France. And it is truly amazing. And it was just an amazing experience to be literally plonked in a situation of help. We don't need to go into the whys, wherefores of the help thing, but it's quite rare that happens. So it really brought it back to me what we do here and why we do what we do here, because we really do care. That's why we do it. It's not just a done once and done for you sort of scenario. We want people. I mean, I get people coming to me all the time. I have a problem with my business. My first question to them, or I'm learning, is what are you prepared to do about it? Are you really prepared to listen? You don't have to take the advice on board. You don't have to agree. But are you prepared to come with an open mind? That's the key, isn't it? That's the key, because people who come thinking they know it all will never succeed because, well, why bother coming? You know it all, right? So it was great to get Michaela on board. She's been, and her husband Torhald too, they've been so open about their situation. When people are really open about what's going on, you can start to think a strategy. You can start to really put things back together again, like a jigsaw puzzle. And it's great. Well, it was great for me, maybe not so great for Michaela. We'll hear from her.
Welcome to the show. Can you tell me a little bit more about your Big Fix experience? More about what your perceptions were before you went in, and then while it happened, how you felt. Did it put your back up, or did you find yourself reacting positively? And then afterwards, the after effects as it seeped through you, the information and the new reactions that you got.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show, and also for having me on the Big Fix. For me, it was very interesting, because in the situation we are currently in, you are very excited, especially as a founder. Your emotions are flowing over, so it's very, very helpful to get some let me say, neutral opinions and ideas how to fix the situation from people who are entrepreneurs themselves, and so they understand your situation, and they are very creative to find situations out of it. So that was very useful.
And when you went into it, did you have any preconceptions about how it was going to be?
No, I didn't have any idea. I was very curious, but I was.
Can I just interject here, right, and explain what actually happened? That we had somebody else that was Michaela was going to come just have a look, right, on the Monday and the Tuesday, weren't you? Somebody else was supposed to do that big fix that day, and then they bombed out with a complete disaster last minute. And so I said to Michaela, "Listen, do you really mind doing this?" And she's like, "No, no. As cool as you can, but no problem." So she went right into it with no preconception, anything. Just the thought made it so wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just very curious, really, and I think I was very open-minded, and I'm also trying, of course, to take all the advices and rethink how we can improve and put it into action, really.
Okay, but now that you've had time to reflect and sit back, do you feel that A, there are some actionable points that you learned from it, and B, has it perhaps sparked off a new wave of entrepreneurial spirit within you that will allow you to grow to the next level?
Yes, both. We've been thinking, and I think the biggest thing for an entrepreneur is to simply never give up. There's always hope, and there's always a solution. It may not be obvious in the first moment, but if you sit together and think together, there will be a solution. And yeah, that's my spirit, and that's where we are now. We're in the process of changing things. It may not be as fast as I want it to be, but that's life.
Okay, good. And Larry, did you find that it was a very receptive crowd that was there? Did they pile in and provide really useful perspectives?
Yeah, I think once they got over the shock of shit, this is because normally with Big Fix, it's like what I call ephemeral problems. People put these silly little ideas in their brains and they go, oh, I'd like some more sales, but actually they're real problems and they're problems now. But because they think that they can think about it tomorrow, it doesn't have the same sort of impact of like, I need to pay a bill and this is my deadline, right? Whereas in Michaela's situation, we have an issue right now that we need to deal with, and it sort of deadlined in a way. And that was very interesting for me to watch. To watch the silence from the audience. It was almost like shock, shit, And I said, we're not joking. We need to solve this now. So actually, once I managed them through a process, they were able to sort of chill out and go, okay, right, good. What we need to do is this, 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 and this. So we're in the process now of putting together a strategy of exactly this, 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 and this. Now, this isn't going to be a done for you in 1 minute flat thing, but this is going to be a brilliant opportunity to create a bigger business than it was before, right? Now this is where both Donna and I see this business. We're going from a phenomenal business, and rather than upscaling it, we're scaling it back slightly to start with, then we're going to sort of it up. So this is where I guess you need somebody who's done this before, who's seen this all before, because it's extremely emotional, right? It is extremely, and as Michaela said, when you find people who believe in you, who are positive around you and constantly pushing you forward, it's easier than feeling that you're completely on your own.
Absolutely.
I think. Because I think for me, speaking personally, and it's not like, oh, I've got all the ideas or Donna's got all the ideas. The point is, we are able to look back at this business without the emotion. That is key. Now, I can't manage my business. And Donna, you, whoever, will often say to me, why aren't you doing this? And I'm too close to the business to strategize. I'm way too close to that business. It's too emotional. I don't like people telling me, why are you doing it like that? Because guess what? I'm human, right? We're all human. And we don't like it when somebody, and they might not mean it as criticism, but that's how we accept it. That's how we in our brain see it. It's criticism. I've spent ages doing that, which is why I always say to people with big fixes, I say, come raw, don't over prepare, throw it at us. And it might take months before they go, actually, now I'm in a space to potentially consider some of these things. That happens too. But what we want to create is this honest and open community where we can literally throw our dirty linen in the basket in front of everybody, because this isn't a everything is fine moment. I don't want to hear from people, everything is perfect. This is not for you. If everything is freaking perfect, vanish, get out of my universe immediately, because you're just not one of my tribe, because there's never anything perfect. In business, I don't know about you, Michaela, we always want everything. I always say, if everything is going smoothly, right? My mentor used to say to me, if you feel comfortable, prepare yourself for a problem. Learn comfortable with being uncomfortable. Now, I spent years arguing with that, years and years and years, until it all happened to me in exactly the way he said it would. And I've taken that on board now, and this is like 15 years later, and I'm starting to work that. And what it means for me is I've always got to be prepared to look at the next thing, change. And I've had to learn that. It's taken me 15 years.
Yeah, but I think we all have to learn constantly. Just look at our world, how fast it's changing. You always have to adapt. So there's no way you can stay the same for your total life. And that's what you need to do in business too. Before you had a telephone, you had just a landline, and now you have mobile phones. And now I don't know what the next step is. Who could have imagined 50 years ago that we could have a like this?
Yeah, I just remember the adverts in the UK for mobile phones at the beginning. Where do you remember these, Hilary? There was it was a BT mobile, of course, because originally BT, Michaela, was the only choice. And there was a guy standing in the field saying, "Yes, I can take that order." And that I remember that blew everyone's mind. But here's the dichotomy for me, Michaela, which is, on the one hand, we are all preaching persistence, right? Persistence. In the face of resistance, more persistence. I think that could be a motto. I'll have it tattooed somewhere. So, but here's the problem. Sometimes we persist in a direction that can be actually have a negative result for the overall process, and we keep persisting because we don't have the necessary perspective.
Yeah.
And I think the Big Fix does allow you to get a 360-degree perspective rather than just your own viewpoint. So yes, on the one hand, what you've got is unique and beautiful and gorgeous and wonderful, and you've got an established marketplace and all the rest of it. And as Larry says, you can sit back and rest on your laurels, get everything appears to be fine. But what you may be missing out, using that example, is a whole bunch of other marketplaces that you haven't even considered.
But the other thing there is, so what you say is absolutely true. Now, this is the hardest thing, because everybody after COVID, if you remember, has become a coach, right? Everyone is a coach now, and an expert and a guru and the rest of it. And I just think, what piffle, and what we try and do at Love. Yes, we do strategize with people. But the hardest journey for me is to get people to understand that they need a strategy. They need to invest in getting a proper strategy and a proper strategy mentor. Because if they don't, they're going to be doing it. They can take away that Big Fix report as much as they like. Again, and I've done this myself, right? So I speak from my own experience. What you're doing is you're trying to implement somebody else's strategy for you, overlaying on your own emotions, and you won't implement it like they will because you're emotionally involved in it. You will not. I can't do it. You can't do it. Michaela can't. Well, none of us can because we're too hot wired into our own businesses. And that's the hardest journey to get into people's brains. That, and you know, as I say, everyone's a coach after COVID. The reality is both God, sorry, menopause brain. Both me and Donna have got, you know, we're business people. We are business builders. We do this day in, day out in our own businesses, right? We all have coaches because we can't do it ourselves. And trying to explain to people that having a business builder along your side is probably one of the most lucrative investments you could ever make. Because there's no point having a coach that's never run a business. You need somebody who's lost millions. You need somebody who really understands what it's like to be there. Both Donna and I have experienced this with nothing, absolutely nothing, and what that feels like to have to rebuild from nothing. You know, because it's the emotions that is the problem very often with people.
Yeah.
They think there's fear and shame, isn't there, to a very subconscious level. Well, why can't I do this myself? You know, why can't I? I mean, I'll give you an example with me, right? So I had as you know, I had a £12 million property portfolio. And that was my backstop guarantee against anything going wrong in my life, right? I thought I'd been really clever. And then I had this hedge fund, which we were putting loads of money into, hardly taking anything out for ourselves, which turned out to be one of Britain's largest Ponzi schemes, meaning everything went tits up. Now, I couldn't have foreseen that. But luckily for me, the investment in that property portfolio was what enabled us to survive for 4 or 5 years before we could regroup and do something else. Okay, we then of course had the cannabis days, and I went to prison, and that secured. You know, I couldn't have foreseen that bit. I mean, I couldn't have foreseen actually losing everything and the last bits of money I had been taken away. But what that process taught me was what it's like to still keep going. And what I learned from that, which is what Michaela, I think, is saying, is it's that being an entrepreneur is a journey. It's not about making money. Making money is nice, and there'll be problems. You can't do this. But it's the joy and the happiness of bringing a product to life. It's like having a child.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much about watching it grow physically. It's about watching the tantrums, watching all the things going, you know, that sometimes, but when you stand right back from it at the end of your life, you need to be able to say with clarity and purpose, right, I brought this business up the best I could, and I did the best, and I pivoted, and sometimes we made lots of money, sometimes we lost lots of money, but ultimately the end of your life. That's what I always say to people, this journey is never ever over until you're dead. So there's a lot of time in between now and then. I'm probably getting deep here, but you know,
I think your point is well met. I think that the truth of the matter is the time to look at where you should be going and how you should travel there is probably when things are easiest, because that's when you've got the space potentially to make changes, to think about new things. It shouldn't be at the point when everything's about to fall into the shitter. It should be before that. It should be
if we could get people to do that, the world would be a better place. But they won't, because people never seem to respond until there's a crisis.
Well, part of Love Entrepreneurs is also a gentle coaching station, so people can see that, well, you know, I'm going to wait until things change, and then you've got a lot of people saying, well, I didn't wait. I attended the big fix. I saw what was going wrong. I didn't realize what was going wrong until others reflected it back to me. And I think that's an important part of this. A lot of this is looking at the reflection in the mirror provided by the people there.
Yeah.
And realizing that the image you're seeing is not the same as what was registering on your eyeballs when you looked at it. And I think often being too close to something for too long means that you end up with a very jaundiced view, a view that is the dimensions that you put in place, not the dimensions that actually exist. And I think moving from that two-dimensional view that you get, because that's all you see, to seeing it from other perspectives allows you to make daring choices that perhaps you would never have even dreamt of before. I want to draw attention to Michaela Schup's website, which is chocolatedeluxe.de. I'm actually, instead of putting it up as a thing that you can't click on, I'm going to give you something you can click on. Here is a QR code that will take you straight there. I invite you to go and have a look. I'm already putting in an order right now because I have a birthday coming up. So I look forward to enjoying one of their beautiful packages. But I think in a world beset by gloom and misery, a little bit of chocolate and a puff of serotonin is what we need. Thank you so much, as ever, Larry, for your sound wisdom. Remember, wisdom and knowledge are two entirely different things. Knowledge is knowing that an avocado is a fruit, and wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. So, Michaela, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this today. And all of you watching, remember, if you want a warm welcome from people who are gone through it, or want to go through it, then Love Entrepreneurs is possibly the way to go. Please look at the QR code at the bottom left of the screen. You'll notice it says love-entrepreneurs.com. You can go there, or you can scan it with if you're looking at your computer thinking, what the hell is this man in a funny hat talking about? Find out. I invite you to find out. Have a chat with Larry. Also, and this is unscheduled, there is a currency that is really helpful to help you using up spare space. There are others out there that do something similar. What's unique about this one is you don't have to do everything in that currency. You can do some in that currency and some in sterling or whatever other currency you use. I invite you to look at it. It's called Silva, S-I-L-V-A, Tree, T-R-E-E. Go and have a look, silvertree.co, not co.uk.co. Go and have a look and come back to me because I have experience using it and it's been very helpful.
And also, Michaela is a member, so there we go. If you want to buy a chocolate,
quite so. And Michaela's a member. So, guys, I'm hoping that all of you are going to make your way over to Love Entrepreneurs. There's a lot of good stuff there, but also they have meetings, a little bit of networking, but also a lot of support. I just want to thank Larry for taking time out of a busy day. She's always very busy. And Michaela for taking time out to be with us today. And to you watching, I would say there is hope on the horizon. You may not be able to see it. That's possibly because you're not close enough to it. Keep moving. In the words of a small blue fish, just keep swimming. Until next week, please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars. Who knows, you might catch the moon, and look after your mental health. Bye-bye now.